world. My name is Max Stein, and I love video games.
I'm the Mega Buck. I really love video games.
I'm Raph, and I also love video games, even when they're hard as hell.
Hey friends, Benny here, and I love video games.
And welcome to the Game Treasure Podcast, where we talk games of...
Not again.
PTSD. Man.
And welcome to the Game Treasure Podcast, where we talk treasured games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Bonfire lit.
And welcome to the Game Treasure Podcast, where we talk treasured games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Yes, I did it.
You made it.
Nice attempt.
Why did
Good
I?
job.
What? Thank you. Whew.
First
my heart's racing. My
Only took 2 tries.
palms are sweating. Why? Because this week, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree drops literally today. And what better way to celebrate the DLC of the 10 out of 10 masterpiece, 120-hour fucking action RPG, clenchy butthole battling action game than to talk about the souls-borne genre, as it's colloquially known.
Now,
Souls-borne, of course, being a portmanteau of Dark Souls and Bloodborne. But before we get in that, RetroGameTreasure.com and the Mega Buck are taking a... I'm turning into a fucking auctioneer. RetroGameTreasure.com and the Mega Buck are going to take us back in time with the Retro Zone. Buck, can you please hit me on vacation, sir?
let's go back in time.
He can't yell in that condo. That's why he's got to be so quiet.
I can't get nearly as excited as I normally get. We're going to go smaller this week. We're going to go smaller. We're going to go portable because we don't go portable often enough.
We're going to take our... We're going to take our whole thing and bring it down to NPR.
We're gonna bring
on the Game Boy. Ooh, today we're
take
going
the
to
Game
talk
Boy
about
with
Game
us
Boy
on the
games.
road.
Wow.
Game Boy
Yes.
games.
What have you got for us today, Buck?
You know what? What if we take a game? What if we take a beloved game that's out at the same time? But you said, man, I really want to take it on the go with me, but I can't take my Super Nintendo on the road with me. So do me a favor. Can you shrink down Donkey Kong Country into Donkey Kong Land?
Oh, it's so cute.
Whoa.
For the
It's so
original Game
cute.
Boy.
I love it.
It's little, it's
Yellow,
itty bitty
bright
Donkey Kong.
yellow cartridge. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Land. This is the Game Boy version, right? They did make a Game Boy Color version of Donkey Kong Country, but this is basically a Game Boy Color version of also Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, nice.
Because I was just about to be like, quick question.
Is this Donkey Kong Country?
Right.
Yes and no. The first, especially handful of levels, are very much so just pulled straight from Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, I see this. Yeah.
But the coolest thing about this game is that it pulled off some stuff that, like, you know, we're getting close. We're at the end of the Game Boy's lifespan. The Game Boy Color's out now. This also works really well with the Super Game Boy for the Super Nintendo. You get really good controls, and man, it really squeezes a lot out of the sound chip. Like, if you go listen to like some of the bass sound cues and sound, I mean, not the sound effects as much, but the music and aquatic ambiance on the Game Boy, you're like, that
it
still
does sound
slaps.
nice. I'm listening to it now.
Yeah.
It gets interrupted by really lousy sound effects at points, which kind of ruins that immersion a little bit. But man, I mean, it nails that. The gameplay, the frame rate is actually killer for, you know, what would be Game Boy Color.
Dude, can I just say that if you've been watching the show at all, then you know I've been kind of collecting a Game Boy game since my brother got me the Analog Pocket for my birthday. And I am always in so the Super Game Boy, you mentioned it, talking about this. That thing kicks ass. You got to help me get one of those, RetroGameTreasure.com, because I recently purchased Mario Land 2 when the 6 golden coins, which is also a game, yes, that came out at the end of the Game Boy's lifespan. And I, through researching that game, realized that it and some other games, like you just mentioned, were sort of like specialized to
Yeah.
work with the Super Game Boy.
Yeah.
What they
They
did
got
was
like interesting special palettes. Yeah.
it like unlocked the color palettes that the Super Nintendo used and put it in your Game Boy game, basically.
The
Right.
sound chip as well. I've
Yes.
heard of like the Super Game Boy versions of certain Game Boy games sound excellent on the Super Game Boy.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so this game looks like another one of those. Like, it's so funny because the Game Boy Advance, obviously, great game. It's like
Yeah.
a little,
It's the
it's like
Super
a little
Nintendo
Super
too.
Nintendo in your pocket. Yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But bro, don't sleep on the end of the lifespan of the Game Boy. Like, 6 golden coins is a good, cool, kick-ass,
Yeah.
cool ass game. You got
Yeah.
fucking Mario or Donkey Kong 94, that other one that I mentioned. What else you got a couple weeks ago?
Oh yeah.
Another really cool game. That's really cool, Buck. What kind of settings do you have to get
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Land?
Well, obviously, we have the Game Boy and Game Boy Color even separated as far as your inventory goes, because you get to tell us what you already own, right? And it falls into the basic action platformer, basically category for that as well too. It is in the kids to adults rating, and while we don't break that down so much, there is the E for everyone subgenre that you can select, and it falls into that as well too. So it's a great one to add to your handheld collection.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah, that is.
Plus, you get
Nice.
that beautiful yellow cartridge.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Ooh.
Yellow like a banana. Ooh,
I
that
was
is
about to say
literally
that.
banana runts yellow.
I get it.
I love that.
Does it
I
taste like a banana
I
run?
might scalp a coffee off you if you don't mind. Yeah, because man, Game
got
Boy,
one
I'm in love with the Game Boy since that analog pocket.
I got one in my pocket.
Ah, beautiful. Well, go to www.retrogametreasure.com and sign up today. You can also get a copy of Donkey Kong Land. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have some awesome video game news from a fucking packed past 2 weeks of release notes release note. Like, what do you call these
Nintendo
big
Directs
releases?
and
I don't know,
whatnot.
these big,
Yeah. Summer
whatever.
Game
These big ass
Showcase.
shows, these game showcases. That's the word I'm looking
Yeah.
for. Thank you.
Showcase. That's the word.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll be
Showcase.
right back. Jiminy Crimbus. All right, we're back. We're back with some video game news.
Game.
I'm gonna put sound effects on that right there. But what I'm thank you. Can I get some backup here? What I'm referencing is that the past 2 weeks have been the summer of gaming, and it's hanging 10 with a bunch of video game releases. Jeff Keighley has his summer of games or whatever, and at the same time, PlayStation had their state of play. At the same time, Xbox has their Xbox showcase, and then just today, that is the day of this recording,
Nintendo Direct.
had their Nintendo Direct, and it was fucking awesome.
Holy hell. Yeah.
So I was just going to run through some games of note on my behalf. If you guys have any others you want to add or whatever. So new Perfect Dark game, which I believe was in the Xbox showcase. Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. They
Holy
own
cow.
her, yeah.
It looks cool. It looks like a throwback to an old cinematic first-person shooter single player. I didn't see any trailers of any multiplayer mode being, you know what I mean, like the scope of the game. It was just that really kick-ass, like everything is sort of almost like Half-Life maybe, or Half-Life 2, where you're sort of
Don't you tickle my balls like that.
It's very linear,
It's
but
not okay.
it's nice to have a nice cinematic first-person shooter for once.
I
back in the
haven't
old days.
seen anything about that one yet. I didn't see the Xbox showcase, and I kind of caught like a little bit of the Nintendo showcase while I was at work today. But I didn't see anything about the Perfect Dark one.
It's got her like looking through like walls with
Johanna
X-ray
Dark.
vision and like jumping out windows with crazy like
Wow.
what's that, parkour moves with a
Parkour.
handgun and shit. It's cool.
Sick.
And then they also had the Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta had some more game footage for
Now
us.
you're talking.
That-
That sounds pretty dope.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Did you get to see it at all, Buck?
I didn't see the Xbox one. No, I saw some of these other ones.
So my main takeaway is it looks so delicious. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, aka Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta is the name of this one.
Okay.
Mr. Venacor, are you a fan of Snake Eater?
Oh my gosh, Snake Eater brings back a lot of good memories. So I mean, even for the time, it was really technologically up there, in my opinion. For a PS2 release. Oh, there you go, Raph. Nice, buddy.
Yeah.
That triple pack collector, that PS1 game and a PS2 box collector.
So this is one that I'm really, really excited for because there aren't that many games that you salivate over and say, "Oh man, I would love to see this on a next gen console." But I got to tell you, anything from Kojima, give it to
Yeah.
me. Just give it to me.
Yeah.
Especially Metal Gear Solid 3. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't know, it's my favorite Metal
the
Gear
jungle,
Solid game.
baby.
Yeah.
Wow,
it's-
really? That's your favorite of the Solid
yeah,
series?
yeah. I love Metal Gear Solid 1. I love Metal Gear Solid 2, but Metal Gear Solid 3, for some reason, it's just like I've played that more than any of the other games in the series.
Nice.
I remember one time just like getting up in the morning, starting the game, and then beating it that night, like just powering
Dang.
through the
Whoa.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played it like all the way through. Just I love that game.
Cool.
And then
You
for
know,
the oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think Raph, I gotta say, I think part 3, the reason it was so engaging is because, Kojima and his way of storytelling has
Yeah.
just that way of
Yeah.
character development, like to a really, really high degree. And
Yeah.
I feel
Mhm.
like 3 is when that really, jumped a huge hurdle. And like all of that cinematic character development just went exponential starting in 3.
It felt the most like a movie up to that point. Like
Yeah.
that one really felt like I was playing through a really awesome kick-ass like spy movie.
And then 4 just was a movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, I loved
I like
4
4
though.
too.
3
I
is
like
the
4
one
too.
with
Good
the
movie.
epically long ladder climb, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so
With
that's
Snake
without
Eater playing in the
with
background.
That's the
the
one where you're
song,
really
yeah.
like, this is like a movie. This is so
Yeah.
silly how long this is taking. I love it.
Yeah.
That's the one I played the most as well. And I found it incredibly hard, but just the style of Kojima, that was the first time I really got exposed to it. I remember
Yeah.
playing with a dear friend of mine, Matthew Wilson, Buck
he
knows,
played it a lot.
and just being like, this guy controls bees and he's part of a
Yeah.
communist
Yeah.
whatever. Like, I'm like, what
Yeah.
the fuck? This
guy controls
this-
bees. 150-year-old
Yeah.
sniper.
Controls bees.
What?
His name is what? Yeah. So with the this is being
True.
developed sans Kojima, obviously, because it's by Konami, but it
Yeah.
looks great and it looks the same, which is like fine. And then from the
Fine, yeah.
PlayStation showcase, my big takeaway was Astrobot is just like, I'm the mascot for PlayStation. Like, clearly, you know what I mean? Like,
Seriously,
I don't know
they
if
need
you
to
guys
use him more.
Yeah,
Like, he's great.
everyone wants their Mario, their cute mascot that's like
Oh.
fun for adults but also acceptable for
Crash
children.
Bandicoot.
Right, he kind of not so cool, but in that new Astrobot trailer, it looks fun. That's all I can say. I haven't played the first Astrobot, but the number of references to PlayStation classic games, there was like a Journey skinned version of Astrobot, which is one of my favorite PlayStation 2 games of all time, or PlayStation 3 games of all time. There was like Uncharted references, and like it was just jam packed, and it was just like, oh, this is so obvious. Like, this is perfect. Like,
This looks so cool. I didn't
Yeah.
see this either. Man,
Yeah.
that looks fun.
I think that's PlayStation's Mario. I don't know about y'all,
I
but
hope so.
and then speaking of Mario, the Nintendo Direct had some kick-ass
Ooh,
stuff inside
boy.
of it as well.
Excited.
We
So
dropped
first of
some
all,
bombs.
new Mario and Luigi game, like the Mario and Luigi like saga from the Game Boy Advance. Speaking
It's
of
been
Game
almost
Boy
a
Advance, and Game Boy-
decade since the last Mario and Luigi
9
game for
years.
like the DS. Yeah.
so they're getting like a 3D like adventure, but then like RPG turn-based battle game.
They all
With-
were. All the Mario and Luigi games have been like the turn-based 2-character.
No, I
party
know
kind.
that, but they haven't always been like a 3D like world, like how, you know what I mean? They've always had this very cartoony aesthetic, and now they have
Right.
that same aesthetic, but they've put it in like a 3D world that you walk around. Like, it
It's like
looks
3D
really
again.
interesting. Yeah.
Hmm.
It looks really cool. And then, hey, Buck, congratulations on bringing forth with your podcast powers Dragon Quest
Yeah, that's
3
right.
and 1 and 2 HD 2D remakes.
If
I
you
know.
guys don't know what Mac's talking about like 8 episodes ago, we
Yeah.
were talking about RPGs and whatnot. We were talking about how you can play, on the PS1, you can play Final Fantasy 4 and Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy 5 and 6 and all this. And we were like, you know what? Because Venny was gushing about the Dragon Warrior games, especially 3 and
That's what it
4.
was.
And we were like, you know what? There's like no modern way to play Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest, especially the first 3 or so. Like, there's no way to play them in an original or a remake. There's absolute no way. This was like 3 months ago.
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Venacor, you must be very, very excited.
Oh man, I gotta tell you, Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior in the States, it was such a memorable game for me because my mother and I were both huge RPG nerds back in the early and mid '90s,
Awesome.
and that was something that we used to do together, just sitting on the carpet. So like it's such a throwback, but it's exciting to see those games get the modern treatment, because there's only I heard it said, and I thought this was a great analogy because Buck knows how much I love the Lunar games.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, they looked
Lunar 1 and 2
amazing
on Sega
yeah,
CD,
so
right?
cool.
So
So anime.
Lunar, yeah, exactly. It was like
Mm-hmm.
it was like anime meets RPG for the first time, for
Mm-hmm.
us, Western kids. But what was really cool about that was you get a game like Lunar with the capabilities of the Sega CD, right? And it's akin to, okay, this is someone telling a story. And then they re-release it for the PS1 with all the bells and whistles and all the upgraded FMV and music and all that stuff. And it was very elegant the way because remakes weren't really a thing back then, by
Right.
the way.
No.
So when they did
At
that,
all.
that was
At
kind
all.
of a big deal. And they very so elegantly put it. It's just as if someone different was telling the story.
Hmm.
Whoa, cool. So poetic.
It was
I
it was
know.
kind of poetic, right? So
Yeah.
Court.
I am really jazzed for Dragon Warrior to get that
Yeah.
same treatment. I want to see
That's a
what
good
this new
point.
storyteller is going to do.
First of all, it looks awesome.
Yeah, I love that
Yes, it
style.
does.
Yeah, the HD high res of it all, like when it showed the in-party battles and it's like the from behind the back of all the warriors standing and there's some long blonde-haired warrior woman with an axe like held behind her and
Yeah.
it was just I was just like, well, I'm sold. This
That's what what they did with the Star Ocean Second Story remake that just came out last year.
Yep. And the fact that the first and the second game are going to be one game is just like, well, I'm just gonna buy them both and just play this
Hell
whole thing.
yeah,
If
I'm
you're saying I
definitely
can
gonna
do
get both of
this,
these,
then
yeah.
fuck, that sounds amazing.
Mhm.
And then real quick, there's a Legend of Zelda game coming out where
Don't
you actually
forget
get to
about-
play as
yeah.
Zelda.
Don't forget about Zelda's second full-length feature video game.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Not
a
to
good
be
point.
not to be confused, not to forget that Wand of Gamelon for the Philips CDI exists.
Nobody knows
So
that except you. Shut up.
the
I
Legend
mean-
of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom takes place, it seems like, in that Link's Awakening toyetic remake world,
Yeah.
right?
I love that
But
art
just-
style so much. I'm glad they're using it more.
And it
It
goes
looks
along
so
with a
cute.
particular gameplay style too, which is going to be a whole hell of a lot of fun now that they put like the puzzle elements into this one.
Right. I
It's gonna
also
be
thought
Tunic.
that's a
Mhm.
good point. I
Yeah.
thought that look lends itself to being a puzzle game. I assume it'll be shorter in length, perhaps, than maybe your average Zelda, but
That's okay.
nevertheless, it looks cute and fun, and that's a good enough excuse for me to play a actual legend. When I saw the release, I thought to myself, "Oh yeah, that's kind of stupid."
Zelda's a
It's-
girl?
Like,
Jeez.
it's called Legend of Zelda, and it's not the legend. It's the Legend of the Triforce, maybe. It's not really Zelda's legend. Why would they call it that? Anyhow, finally, I don't know. Buck probably wants to talk about this one, Metroid Prime 4.
Speaking of other girls,
got teased. They've been talking about working on it for years and years and years now, and they finally showed footage of, I don't know, maybe 2
Not
minutes
much.
in length. Yeah,
they said it's
Not
coming
even.
out next year, which is good. I mean, they announced that was in development like 6 years ago or
Yeah.
something, 6 or 7 years ago. It's been
Um,
developed forever.
My
It's-
question. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's cool. It's cool, but did anybody else feel like it just kind of looked the same?
Yeah.
It looked
But-
like another Metroid Prime game. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
yeah.
I'm just making sure. I don't know, Mr. Benacor. Were you able to see the trailer for this?
Not for that one.
No. I don't know. I played the first I played the first Metroid Prime, and then I saw this, and I thought, oh, this is like maybe a remake of
This is the
Metroid
one
Prime
I'll
3.
play.
You know, no, I thought maybe this is because I know they remade the first
Oh.
one, so I thought, oh, maybe they're showing off. Hey, we're
Like a
remaking.
remake,
Because I
yeah.
thought, oh,
Well-
maybe this is a scene from one of the ones I haven't played, and that's why it's so short. Because it's
no,
just meant
here's
to be.
the
But
here's the
no.
problem, and here's why they did that. Every other game they showed off comes out in 2024, except for Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD remake, right?
Right.
And the rumor is that the Switch successor is going to be announced
I
for
was
this
gonna-
holiday season.
That's what I was going to ask about.
So
Like, you
I
guys
think that they didn't show off enough of it because Prime 4 Beyond is already said it's coming out next year, which means it's going to be for the next Switch.
Wow.
Now, I've heard that Nintendo is saying
True.
that they're going to continue to support the original, like the Switch
Sure.
One. So I
Right.
wonder if it's going to come out for both. And my question is,
No.
do you guys think it's going to run at 10 FPS?
It's going to do a
Because-
Twilight Princess.
Yeah. Like, do you think it's going to run at like
Did
just
you see the
a
fucking
snail's
trailer for
Damn,
Stray?
Raph spitting fire.
Did you see this trailer for Stray, for the Switch port
Oh
of
my
Stray?
God.
I'd heard about it.
It
Oh,
looked
no,
like
is it bad?
diarrhea.
I
I'm
missed
sorry.
that one,
It
yeah.
looked so
Mortal
bad.
Kombat 1
Just
syndrome.
Yeah.
I
That's
missed
a
that
shame.
one, yeah.
I just saw it was coming out. And I thought that was cool, and I didn't know that it had
It
a.
is cool.
That-
Mac, did you see that Donkey Kong Country?
I did. It's Donkey Kong Country. It's
Yes.
the
Returns.
Wii.
It's the one they made for the Wii.
Oh,
Wii.
okay. I thought it was a new one. I
It's
kind
not
of caught this
new.
while I was
It's
at work.
an HD
Okay.
remake.
Yeah, it's
And
an
Frank-
HD remake of a Wii re-release of Donkey Kong Country.
Never mind. I thought it was a
Yeah.
new Donkey Kong
No,
Country game. I was
no.
like, oh, dope. Yeah.
No, I would have had a heart attack. But lastly, real quick, I did want to touch on before we move on to our main subject.
Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Oh, sorry.
Hello Kitty Island, that too. But the Devolver Digital Showcase.
Oh,
dude.
God, that
Oh,
was so cool.
So
I still haven't gotten to see it.
Oh my
I was,
fucking
you sent it to me
God.
while I was at work. I
Crap,
couldn't watch
no.
it.
there's
I'm
no
gonna watch it
time
right
to
after
sit
this.
here and watch
No,
you
I'm
watch
gonna watch
it.
it after. I'm gonna watch it after. It's like 20 minutes long. I'll watch it later.
So
Too many
upset.
cooks.
That's so funny because I would love to talk to you
Too many
specifically about it.
cooks.
I'll watch it later. Yeah.
Feels as though it was produced by someone from Adult Swim for sure. Like
It really had that vibe. I was impressed. Like the
Too many cooks
when you
vibe.
dropped it in our chat, I was in the middle of doing a million things because my family just moved over this past week as of time of this recording. So I've been a little nuts. But when I stopped unpacking boxes to watch this Devolver Direct thing that Mac dropped, you guys got to check this out.
It's
I saw the
like-
first few minutes of it. I was in the bathroom at work when you sent this. So I'm I'm sitting on the
It's a
toilet
perfect
looking at this,
watch.
dude. Like, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was like, I
It's
can't
like
be here for 20 minutes. I
if
saw the first
Too
5
Many
minutes.
Cooks and Black Mirror and a press release about video games got put together.
All rolled into one.
It's really funny.
It was great.
But yeah, there was a bunch of games released. Talos Principle 2 is getting a 3-piece update. There's some game called Crush House coming out that the trailer just looked like, what is this? They had another preview for that game Angerfoot, which I've had in my
Yeah.
play this demo thing in Steam forever, which looks awesome.
Possessor, which looked
The
amazing.
the team that designed Dead Cells has got a new 2D brawler coming out called
Sick.
Tenjutsu. It looks
Mhm.
fucking
That looks so
amazing.
good.
And then Heart Machine, the company that made
Possessor, yeah.
Hyperlight Drifter, is making a game called Possessor that
That
looks
looks
like
fun.
a side-scrolling action Metroidvania thing.
The
Oh,
mixture of art styles in that game looks so good.
I
It's
love
seriously-
Hyperlight Drifter. Shit.
This
hold
one,
on.
it's got moments
Yeah,
that
that was
look
a great
like
game.
still comic book art, like splashes of color will come on the screen and they look different than the aesthetic of everything else. And then finally, they were talking we got some more peek at the new Cult of the Lamb update with the local co-op. We got a release date on that. I didn't
Cool.
write down, but I do like that game. I've played it a bunch on Steam, but I honestly think that when this local co-op comes out, I'm gonna get it on my Xbox and play with
Hell
my
yeah.
girlfriend because this game is half farming simulator, half like rogue dungeon crawler. And I think she would like the farming simulator part. But instead of farming corn, you farm people's souls.
Souls.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, no,
But yeah,
really just Shang Tsung in a little lambskin. is
Yeah.
all.
And you're
But-
adorable, by the way.
Oh boy.
But
It's
yeah,
true.
if you didn't see the Devolver Digital Showcase, just Just go and watch it, and just it's really, 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 really funny, and you can thank me later. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna get on our main subject of the day, which is souls-borne games. Praise the sun. Be right back. Okay, we're back.
Yes, he's
We're back, and we're Shadow of the Earth Tree is coming out on the day
baby.
this drops. We haven't played it because we're not fancy. We're like you. We're fancy people. We're people you could drink a beer with. Don't you want us to become president? We sorry. We're talking about souls-borne games. Specifically, I'm going to get to Elden Ring. But I did want to do just a quick recap of
Talk about the granddaddies.
of FromSoft and its little evolution and how it made a game that sort of revolutionized action games and sort of spawned a whole genre in and among itself. It made a portmanteau out of two games that are its own. It didn't need another. It was like, we'll just do two different games that people. So Soulsborne.
We'll make our own.
It's a subgenre of action games. Both these games from the developer FromSoft. FromSoft started its life as a business software company. So they did. I believe they made software for things like tracking inventory and tracking sales and things like this. But they released their first video game. It was Kingsfield.
Mm-hmm.
So Raph knows a little bit more than Kingsfield than myself. Raph, you've played some games that are inspired by Kingsfield, if I'm not
a couple,
mistaken,
yeah,
correct?
Yeah. While doing the research for this, I kind of watched a few videos on Kingsfield itself, and I've played a few sort of Kingsfield likes, which is kind of like a new-ish genre now. Like that's a thing that people are making, like Kingsfield like games. Lunacid, which is probably one of my favorites. There was another one, Devil Tower or something like that. It's a pretty good one. But I think that you can see like this direct line. I was thinking about it the whole time, like while doing this, like what kind of like led to Souls-like games. Obviously, we talked about it last time, Metroidvanias. But then like Kingsfield comes out and it's got like this sort of dark look to it, complex sort of like labyrinths, these big seamless worlds and stuff like that. And then there's obviously like these sort of like esoteric narratives that are being told that are done in a sort of like a minimalist kind of fashion. And a lot of this, you see it in like the Dark Souls games and, Soulsborne, I guess you can call them Soulsborne games. But yeah, dude, Kingsfield is like that direct line. Almost all of the stuff that's in there, the hub world and all that, ended up in Demon Souls. I think Demon Souls had like a hub world that you kind of like branch out from. And then all the Dark Souls games have usually like a central campfire that you kind of hang out near and then you kind of go out from.
Yes, you're getting ahead of ourselves. That's 1994 when Kingsfield comes
sorry,
out.
Yeah, that was the PS1 Kingsfield.
PS1, 1994.
I had the long box version of that for the PS1.
Whoa, wild,
and
tight,
man! You want to talk about like it was
Combat
a style,
slow.
Man. Yeah,
Slow.
It was like we've been playing that new game that just came out.
Slower
Dark and
than
Darker.
Elder Scrolls, slower than Hex.
Yeah. No, if you haven't played Dark and Darker yet on Steam, that it is Kingsfield gameplay. I'm gonna swing 100%,
at you. Yeah. Right.
I'm gonna shoot my bow.
Yeah.
Quick. Like
you gotta really think way far ahead. That's a excellent sort of parallel we can draw to the games we're about to talk about, which is fast forwarding to 2009, PS3, Demon's Souls is released. So this is directed by the granddaddy Miyazaki. Hidetaka, I think is how you say it, right? I don't want to mispronounce, but Buck, you could probably say it better than I can. Hidetaka Miyazaki. So
the other Miyazaki.
Yeah, right.
This game is just directed by him. It's not produced by him. That's the next game. We'll get to that. No spoilers. But so this game is different than games that are coming out in 2009. This game is not user-friendly. This game is not hand-holdy. In fact, there was a Tokyo Game Show in 2008 where Sony, who was producing this game at the time, brought Demon Souls for people to play, and people did not like it because they were like, "It's really is it supposed to be this hard? Is it just under development?"
Masochism wasn't a gameplay genre yet.
In fact, Sony president, oh boy, Shuhei Yoshida, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Good enough.
He played the game for something like, it said that he's played the game for 2 hours, couldn't get out of the intro area, and said it was, quote, an unbelievably bad game.
You know,
So
funny thing was, among a lot of people, that was the consensus.
Yeah.
It was an experience that people did not know how to navigate, so they just
Right.
wrote it off as a bad game.
Yeah.
yeah, this
Some
is
people still do that with these games, honestly.
But
From
now,
Software.
the culture, there's a culture around Souls-borne
Yeah,
true.
games.
Exactly.
So now, if you complain, it's
Yeah.
get good, noob.
Yeah. Don't be a
it's
bitch.
true. This is what my co-hosts are referencing is the fact that this game has, if you've never played any of the Soulsborne games, this game has incredibly difficult combat. I'm
On
talking
purpose.
like in my notes
Some
here,
people
I
just
said,
call that bad controls, but
I said that's true. In this, and that's get good. I said in my notes here, these games enemies warrant the respect that their designs suggest.
yes.
Right.
And then I wrote, in Castlevania, if you see a skeleton in a hallway, your instinct is that's a weak enemy. In Demon Souls, if you see a sword wielding skeleton, approach it
careful.
as you would in real
Yeah.
life because that's a skeleton holding a sword. That's. You want to fuck around and find out? You
Yeah.
want to fight? Would you, if you ran
Fuck
into a
around
skeleton
and
with a
find
sword in
out.
real life, you're gonna fuck. So this is made doubly punishing because there's a gameplay mechanic involving this single currency that you spend everything on, and it's the souls.
Souls.
And when you die, you drop all your souls.
Souls.
You keep everything else, which
Yeah.
Not the
hey, last week we talked a little bit about Metroidvanias, and we talked about how it was going to dovetail perfectly into this new genre, this souls-borne genre, and this is one of the things that I thought is sort of a nice little dovetail. But the idea that when you drop your souls, you don't drop the items you get,
Right.
because a huge part of this game involves going to places that maybe are a little too dangerous that you might not survive because there's an item there that you need to go get.
Right.
Like Raph alluded to, there's a hub world that exists in Demon Souls that has like almost like bicycle spokes that you go out to these different areas. Buck, you
Yeah.
played Demon Souls. I'd
I
like
did.
for you to fill us in a little bit on your experience there with that game.
Yeah, and I know Venny played this whole series too, so he can fill in the blanks of things that I forgot, I'm sure. But the biggest thing for me was when I saw Front Software, I was immediately thinking of Armored Core. That's a series that they make that I
yes,
really
yes,
enjoy,
yes.
right? So when I first saw this game and I hadn't heard about how hard it was necessarily, I saw From Software and I saw that logo right there, Atlas. And I went, I love games that both these guys make.
Interesting.
Can I pause you right there and just say, but Mac, didn't you just say Sony was producing this game? Yes, that's true. But when Sony got so spooked after that Tokyo Game Show, they decided not to publish this game in other
Yeah.
regions, which is why Atlas picks it up and publishes it in North America.
Damn,
Meanwhile,
I had no idea.
Meanwhile, in the PAL region, Bandai Namco publishes it,
Right.
which we will later come back to when we get to Dark Souls.
Because the
Right,
thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was a wild ride because this first game, it was exactly that. It was like a giant. It was the first game in a really long time that made you feel like you were playing an NES game. It was a giant game of trial and error to get 1 or 2 steps further on every single run, right? Before
Right.
roguelites existed, before roguelikes and roguelites existed as a genre, this was the first game that kind of opened the door to all of that. Like, no, just get a little bit further. And when you first played it, if you didn't know that, which I didn't when I played this, your initial thought is just, I'm in the wrong place. Like, this is an open world game. You can go in multiple directions. I went the wrong way. I'm not supposed to be here yet. So you try a different way. And it's just as hard.
Oh,
and just as punishing. And you try a different way.
Yeah.
It's just, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's how this game is. I need to pick one of these skeletons with swords to try and make my way
Yeah.
through.
That's so funny that you said that thing about roguelikes, because I wrote in my notes, oh, it's almost like a prototype for roguelikes.
It
So I
was.
guess we'll just do the next episode about roguelikes and we'll just go right into that subgenre. Mr. Venacor, did you played all of these games? What are your opinions on Demon's Souls?
Every single one from start to finish.
Yeah.
The best way I ever saw it described, and Buck kind of touched on this as far as controls and being very slow. If you've never played a Souls-borne game before, you will, when you first pick it up, you will find that pressing a button does not do an action. Pressing a button initiates the motion of
Right.
doing an
Right.
action.
That's very,
Yes.
very, very important.
And
Yeah. No.
I think
Yeah.
one of the most distinctive and, in my opinion, impressive things about these games is the absolute grandeur of the boss fights.
Oh
Um,
my God.
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
Yeah.
it's interesting because as you go through, you have these challenging enemies and these challenging encounters, and even the environments can be very, very challenging in their own right. Um, but there's this classic, like white misty cloud that you step through, like this
The
white
curtain.
misty
It's like
veil over a
yeah,
Right.
door. And as soon as you step through that thing, you are about to fight a boss. Well, the first time it doesn't appear. You
Yeah.
just encounter the boss, and then from then
and it
on,
promptly murders you.
well, yeah, exactly. And then from then on, typically you will see that veil, and you can say, "Okay, I know as soon as I step through this door, I'm about to fight this boss." But just it's incredible. The bosses are massive. Their attacks fill the entire arena and the entire screen, and you really have to be patient with yourself because you can very easily go into even the earliest boss fights and just
Yeah.
say, "How in the world is anybody ever going to beat this thing?
Oh,
This
I'm
is
stuck on the
this
first
is
boss in Elden
insane."
Ring.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Like
so
I'm stuck
true.
on the first boss in Elden Ring. I've been stuck on him for like the last 3 days.
Yeah, and Raph, it's funny. One of my first ever streams on Twitch back in
Mhm.
2022 was Elden Ring, and
Wild.
we spent the entire first night beating the first boss in Elden Ring. And when we finally
Wow.
got that kill,
Magical.
it was like just this huge celebration because nobody. It was brand new. It's a game only been out a few days, so it was pretty awesome. But
Wild.
if you've never gotten deep into these games, I would highly suggest Dark Souls or
Oh,
Elden
I love
Ring.
Dark Souls.
Dark
One
Souls Part One, it's a great entry point. Elden Ring is very big. It's so big,
w-
but also
one
a
thing
great entry point.
one thing I wanted to piggyback on, you mentioning the size of the enemies is also the design
Oh
of
my God.
every enemy. Not
Yes.
only the bosses are
It's so
outrageous. They're
impressive.
fucking they will be grotesque monster, like they make
Yeah.
monsters in
Great character
Castlevania look
design.
like puppy. Like in Castlevania,
And like
you'll come across a living piece of armor and it'll throw an axe at you and you're like, okay. And then in Dark Souls or Demon Souls in this case, you come across a living piece of armor and it's just like, oh like it just looks so much scarier than games
The
of
way it
that time.
moves. The way, yeah.
dude, even like the things that aren't grotesque are incredibly well designed. I think it's Sif the wolf in like
Oh,
Dark
yeah.
Souls.
Oh,
That's
Right.
such a
Sword.
cool idea. Giant wolf with a fucking sword,
Sword
in
in
his
its
mouth.
mouth.
Okay,
Yeah.
Awesome.
so this game actually comes out, right? And then
Yeah.
everyone loves it.
Yeah.
It turns out that them Sony thinking it was too hard, they were wrong. Everyone in North
Right.
America is a nasty
Demon
boy
Souls.
and they
Yeah.
love punishing themselves. And
Yeah,
it turns
yeah,
out
hurt me.
everyone loves it. It gets
Hurt
really
me.
good reviews. And this basically FromSoft is like, yo, Miyazaki, you're the man. You just directed a game that is a smash hit. So now
Yeah.
you get to direct and produce our next game, which we have each mentioned because it's so fucking good you have to. 2011's Dark Souls. Whoo, doggy.
I brought this.
That is gorgeous.
I brought this because I know Vinny has all these, so I'm going to show off one for him. This is the Dark Souls 1 hardback, thick as balls.
Beautiful, beautiful, man.
Shredded.
That's awesome. I never knew you
The-
had that. You have to show
the-
me that when I see you in
I
person.
have the first two, and the map layouts. This became planning. Like I felt like I was in the Mission Impossible movies because it became like planning my angle of attack and approach around what was. I actually for a long time liked the fact that I knew what enemies were coming up, so I could plan before I saw them on the screen, and it just saved me like a half dozen deaths. Like
So if you're just listening on Spotify, Buck is holding up a very gorgeous, glossy, fucking hard copy or hardback copy of a Dark Souls strategy guide that has like awesome maps with placement of enemies, and this is important that Buck has a huge map, because this game does something. It improves upon Demon Souls in one major way that I wanted to get everyone's take on, which is that much like Metroidvania, this game is one giant interconnected map.
Yes.
So unlike the bicycle
No hub.
spoke, yes, unlike the bicycle spoke world that I was mentioning before, now this game includes bonfires, which are areas where you rest at that are in the world, which
Yeah.
later you get the ability to travel between. And
Genius.
and
I know that's one.
and they connect everything. So there is no hub world necessarily. If you have to get from one end to the other, you just have to walk there until you get the fast traveling.
I
Uh,
want to talk about, honestly, like
The first
like
area.
Dark Souls really like just changed my my perspective on game design and map design.
Mhm.
Dark Souls shows and doesn't tell. It
Much like
straight up
Metroid.
like right, yeah, it just straight up, like I've said it many times, just comparing this game to like games like Legend of Zelda, like the original Legend of Zelda. But in more so, it's really more like Metroid. It says there's two bells, one up, one down, ring them both. It doesn't tell you which one to ring first, but most people naturally will go for that top bell, and that's actually the easier path to take. That bottom bell is like almost impossible early on. Like you gotta really get
Yeah.
through the top part first, get to know the game. But it's just genius the way that they guide your hand without you knowing that they're guiding your hand. Beautiful game design. I love it.
It's my favorite of the soul. Well, it's my second favorite behind our main subject today. But the first time I played this game, it blew my fucking socks off. I didn't play
Same.
Demon Souls. Dark Souls was my first exposure to this universe. I cannot emphasize enough how unlike any other game
Nice book.
a Soulsborne is. The seriousness with which it takes itself, and like Raph said, the ability that it has to tell a story through its scenery and through its item description and through extremely esoteric like NPC dialogue. It's 110% my shit, and it's wrapped in the most brutal high fantasy wrapper. The
Yeah.
design of every single inch of it is so fucking out. Like it's its own. It's not Conan fantasy. It's not Lord of the Rings. It's like its own fucking thing. This own Japanese born but Western inspired thing.
Yeah.
Extremely high fantasy medieval swords and magic, like to
Yeah,
the
like
nth
dark
degree.
fantasy,
And
like,
let's not forget, since we can't forget the two spin-offs, the Victorian Edgar Allan Poe-esque Bloodborne, which is
Yes.
a huge fan favorite among fans of the genre. And then also we can't forget Sekiro, which I really love that they gave themselves a permission slip to do a fully blown Japanese flavor and lore version of a Souls game. And honestly, it was one of the most successful and I think most fun to play of all the Soulsborne games.
I'd love to play
The
that
two
one.
spin-offs were wonderful.
That's
I
right.
haven't
So
played it yet. I'd love to. Honestly.
Bloodborne
Sekiro is
released
cool as
for the
hell.
PS4 in 2015. This is not produced by Miyazaki, but as Mr. Venacore stated, this is not medieval fantasy themed. It's more like
Gaslight
pilgrims
fantasy.
and that like gaslight fantasy. It mostly emphasizes parrying over blocking. You have a gun in your hand most of the time. You don't have to, but most people's builds have like some sort of firearm in your left hand or something that involves you doing this special counter move. I personally don't like countering. I'm a shields guy in Dark Souls. So I did play Bloodborne, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. But people really, really love it. And Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, won Game of the Year. It's a Soulsborne game made by From Software where you don't make your character. You're playing as a guy and there's a storyline. It's got the action combat of a Soulsborne on methamphetamines, where you're jumping around with
It's a little faster.
grappling hook. It's a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And what this sort of I think after Bloodborne and Sekiro, the floodgates opened for indie games.
Oh yeah.
Because I think that Mr. Vanacore is absolutely correct in saying so they made spin-offs of Dark Souls, and then
Mhm.
when they did that, other people said, "Wait, you can put Dark Souls in other places?
Right.
You
You
put
could
Dark Souls on my Dark
you
Souls.
could put Dark Souls underground with a bunch of bugs, and then Hollow Knight comes out, or you could put Dark Souls
Yeah.
with a bunch of crows, and it's that Death's Door game." Um,
Blasphemous, man.
Yeah,
Right.
Straight up
blasphemous. Yeah.
Catholic Metroidvania Dark Souls.
So
Yeah.
there's a bajillion, million, zillion games that start calling themselves Souls-likes.
Yeah.
And then there's a big lull until 2022.
Oh,
Boom.
And a game of today's subject of conversation, a game that boasted throughout its entire ad campaign, could not emphasize enough. George R.R. Martin is writing this game with us.
Oh shit, I forgot about
Hey,
that.
guys.
The whole
Yeah,
time I've been
dude.
playing, I forgot.
They,
Oh, that's
Okay, you
I
finished
I
something?
remember so vividly
right.
seeing the commercials and going, "What? The Game of Thrones guy is doing a Dark Souls game? I'm gonna die." So yeah, Elden Ring comes out in February of 2022. Yo, Buck, I know you haven't played it. You're missing out. Raph, you just got it this
Yeah,
week.
yeah.
Mr. Venecor, you've played it probably more than I have, and I played it for like 70 or so hours, but I have not beat it.
Nice.
Yo, Elden Ring is an open world Dark Souls. It promises that in its
That blew my
ad,
mind.
and then when you get it, you're
Blew my
like,
mind.
whoa,
Yeah.
how could? But then, so it's like if they took the map from Dark Souls and then put it on a table, like flattened it out, and then like spread it all out, and then filled in the other bits with Zelda Breath of the Wild. Like
Yeah.
they're just like
Shrines
little
and shit,
bibs
yeah.
and bobs of
Dude.
little fucking guys that are like minding their own business, doing their
Yeah.
own thing. You'll come across like a cult of like freaks that are just dancing around, and you're just like, what the fuck is this?
yeah,
Like,
true.
And then they try to kill you.
and then they try to kill you, and you slay them all.
Yeah.
Huge changes to the Souls-borne genre in this, and by that I mean they add jump.
Yeah.
They add a
Dun,
jump
dun,
button.
dun.
Mac, why is that so huge? Well, because From Software went, you guys, we could be torturing them with platforming. What are we doing? Put a jump in there,
We're
because
missing
there
the
are.
most torturous genre of video games ever.
What are we thinking? We've been missing out this whole time. Because there
No, that
are
was like
many.
a back pocket. They were
there are-
hanging on to
Inspired
that
by
one.
Sekiro.
There are absolutely moments in this game where you go like, bet I could get up on that. But that would be like breaking the game. They don't want me to. And then you break the game a la like Skyrim, and then you get to the top and there's an item up there, and you're like, you fucking From Soft, you silly guys.
My favorite is when I'm walking around and I'm like, I see, like the markers that the little messages people can leave. I
Yeah.
see messages and they're leading up to a wall, and then I look up and I see a message up on the wall in a spot that's just too high to jump to. I'm like, how the fuck did you even get up here? And then you get up there and it's just like, you did it.
Praise
Try-
the sun.
There's a lot of messages. You can leaving messages has been a thing since I
Yeah.
think
Demon
Souls.
Demon
I
Souls.
love
That was
leaving
that was
messages in
mainly
these
the
games.
multiplayer. Besides
It's like an
invading.
asymmetrical multiplayer. It's such an interesting thing. You can just leave graffiti, as it were, around that
Yeah.
says "try finger butthole" or "fake door ahead."
The most famous one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Try
hey,
jumping. over a
listen,
cliff.
double jumping horse.
Yeah.
Double
I like that.
jumping
Torrent.
horse. 3 words that help make this game a joy to explore. It makes
Goat
it like
horse or
Monster
something.
Hunter Rise, where you're just like gleefully going from one side of the map to the other with this awesome agile horse. A brilliant thing to add in this huge, difficult game. And then a million, zillion, billion weapons with their own built-in special moves. Mr. Venecor, Mr.
Oh,
Venecor, have you
boy.
beaten Elden Ring?
Yes. The what really I think, and not set it apart, but what really made Elden Ring, I think, so enjoyable just to play. Yes, we've always had the character customization routes, with physical, with dex, with magic, with faith,
Mhm.
all that. But
Right.
but like you just mentioned, Elden Ring went a step further, and it gave a lot of the items and weapons their own special attacks and their own special
that.
abilities. which really kind of ramped up the customization, I think, to in a big way, because now not only do you have, okay, I'm a strength and intelligence build, so I'm shooting spells, but I'm also pretty good with the sword. Oh, but there are some weapons that if you have enough intellect and enough strength to wield it, you can like power it up, and now you can like shoot freaking wave swords like Link from Link to the Past.
You do like a
um
special magic attack, special bonus thing with the sword. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly.
Not
And
to the Ashes of War as well.
the
If you're a
Ashes of
warrior
I
and
was
you
War,
got
about to
just enough
say
intelligence,
there's
the
summons
Ashes of War,
basically.
man.
you
Yeah,
literally
like
can summon
it's
all of the incredibly the thing that the FromSoft series is known for, which is their enemies. They said, what if they were on your side? What if you got the big fucking crazy boss with the spear who jumps in the air and then comes crashing down and cracks the earth
Mimic tier,
in front of your feet?
baby.
It's
If you know, you know.
I
it's
just love that I could be big guy with guy with big sword is like my favorite like trope, and I love like Berserk. Like
Guts. Yeah, I was
I
about
made
to
guts.
say.
Yeah, that's the
the
first thing I
whole
did was like,
game
oh,
is
I'm gonna
so
make guts.
berserk.
Like
It's
I'm
so
definitely
fucking yeah.
I'm walking around with a broadsword and
Are
like
you doing
I'm
club
just
unga bunga?
yeah, basically,
Yeah.
except giant hunk of metal Uggabunga. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hey. Yeah. What did you run, Mr. Vanacore? Have you played it a couple times, or what do you prefer to play as in
You
Elden
know,
Ring?
in this, I don't know why I always gravitate to what I just mentioned, these strength and intellect builds. So like I'm like shooting magic, but
That's
when I
cool.
run out of mana, I can still hold my own. Um
Yeah, I
yeah.
do this. I usually do like a cleric type if I'm doing a fantasy game. I got to do
I
high
do spell
defense,
sword. Spell
healing,
Me
sword.
this
too,
kind of thing.
typically.
But in Elden Ring, for some reason, I wanted to do the intelligence magic so bad
Yeah.
because some of the spell animations are awesome. So
It's
I
That
was
was
such
just
a
the
like,
great
unique
ah,
of
way
the
to
Earth
fuck
go.
it.
series games. Yeah.
Spells, I think in Elden Ring, if you've never, if it's like your first foray, I would really recommend spell sword, and just because you get to experience both of the main ways of playing: melee combat and magic.
That's a good point.
And you can do Azur's Comet. Yeah.
There's so many ways to build your character in this game. It's a fantastic RPG in that regard. And then the openness. When I first started playing this game, my brain didn't understand how it would work. Like I got to the first area when I opened the door and was just like, okay,
Where do
so
I
like
go?
where do
Yeah.
I go? And then you got into this field and there's this big guy that's there who will just fucking whoop your ass if you if you try to fight him. So it's just like, okay, I guess like sneak around that guy. And then if you open the map, I this game is so big, it make you want to slap your mama. It's
I,
fucking massive.
I'm not gonna lie, guys. I played Demon Souls. I played Dark Souls 1 and 2. I beat 1 and Dark Souls 1 and 2. I did the more agility build, by the way. It had like Ornstein's armor and used that. What was the wood grain ring? The one where you had like high, you could do cartwheels and
Nice,
jumps. So
nice.
Sakura might even
Ah,
be more my
yes,
speed.
yes, yes.
But when I saw the map, when I saw the map for Elden Ring, I went, I could beat like 5 games in my backpack.
Yeah, you really,
Truly
really
Or
could.
disheartening,
just
I
this.
guess. Yeah.
Not only do you have the above area, there's an underground area as well.
Wait, there is?
Yes.
Oh my
Dang.
god.
like
What
an
did I get
underground.
myself into?
It's so
plus,
big,
plus,
dude.
plus.
The number of
Dude.
bosses, there's so many like little mini. I mentioned that it's like Breath of the Wild, but it literally has like how Breath of the Wild has the little mini like challenges scattered all throughout this world. This game has like little mini dungeons and like
And
granted they're all similar, but what were you gonna say?
let's not forget to mention that Chad Miyazaki designed an expansion locked behind a boss that only 30% of the players have beat because
So
it's optional.
Mr. Venacore is referencing
What?
Shadow of the Tree,
Oh, I see. Okay.
the DLC that we've
You
been
have
mentioning.
you have to beat Moog
Moog,
in order
yeah.
to access the DLC, the new chapter, and only like a low 30-something% of people have ever beaten him because he's an optional boss.
So this past week or so has been every Twitch streamer under the sun
Yeah.
Amazing.
going to beat Moog.
I don't know where
Oh
he is.
wow.
I saw him, and
He's
there's another
underground.
boss you have to fight as well. That guy who's like got the little tiny horse under his fucking body. He's got this huge malformed
Raban.
What?
Rodon or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah,
Radon, yeah.
he looks like he's got like body dysmorphia, and then his tiny little fucking lower body is like
It's so
a
funny.
malformed horse that looks
I
like it's
can't
in
wait
pain.
to play the
It's
rest of this
insane.
game. I just
Oh,
can't wait to
Raph.
play the rest of this game, dude.
This-
Honestly.
Raph's
The-
gonna have meteor PTSD when he fights Radon.
The reviews. Oh my
Yeah.
god, yeah. You know what's so funny is I just got to Rodon. I just repicked this game up to just refresh for this episode because I hadn't played it in a while. But like I said, I played it for a hot minute, and I just randomly found him because this game is like that. I just picked up and went, "What was I doing? Oh yeah, I was looking over here,
Go
and oh
wherever.
yeah, you know what? Let
It's
me
fine.
actually try for a minute and do this. And oh shit, what's this? So this game is getting reviews. I think it already got a 10 from IGN.
IGN gave it a 10. Yep.
Deserves
This
it.
expansion, the Shadow of the Erdtree, their
They said
synopsis,
it's basically just another game.
Yeah.
It's just a whole game's worth
I
of
It's
literally
content.
going
was
to
just
be the
really-
only
yeah.
DLC that Elden Ring ever gets. Ever. They've promised that.
How
So,
many DLCs get a 10 out of 10?
right.
That doesn't happen like ever,
That's crazy.
It got a 10, and its
Shadowbringers?
DLC got a 10.
right?
It might be one of the best games of all time. I know it's big, but man, every inch of this game is satisfying. When I get
think my
into
name is
it
Adil.
and I boot it up and I'm in the mood to play it, I'll just play it for 7-8 hours. Like I did it the other day because I was like, I'm gonna get ready for the episode, and I was like, well, I got nothing to do today.
I
Let me
will go
begin.
on
And then I-
record and say 2022 and 2023 games of the year are probably the two most powerful GOTYs in history. Between Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3, I really can't.
Damn.
I really
It's hard.
Yeah.
yeah.
Excellent observation.
Yeah. What a time to be alive, boys.
For real. I was watching
And
that.
Dragon Quest remakes.
I was watching that all those press releases and I was going, damn. When I watched the Devolver one, I said games are getting good. Video
haven't
games are
even
getting.
said anything
This was all just a
about
warm-up.
Monster Hunter Wilds.
The last 40
on.
Oh my-
40 years has just been a warm up.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly.
You're gonna lose me when Monster Hunter Wilds comes out. So I suggest you get that game on release
What?
date.
Oh, there's no question that I'm getting that game. All they had to do was show me that they had the quick travel like an animal to quick
Yeah,
travel on.
yeah. You
Like,
get the
that's
feathered
all
raptor.
That's
Oh
all
my
I
gosh.
needed to know. That was the only
Ugh.
QOL thing I needed.
So my question is, Mr. Venacor, you think you're gonna get Shadow of the Erdtree? You think it's on your
100%.
list?
Um,
Okay.
I'm gonna get it. I'm not gonna get it right away. I've just got too many IRL things going on right now.
Somebody didn't beat 7 Rebirth yet.
And somebody hasn't even bought 7 Rebirth yet.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But I am on the verge of beating Unicorn Overlord, and then Metaphor or Dawn Trail comes out in like 20 days, and
That was the other reason why I didn't get this, because Dawn Trail comes out in just a couple of weeks.
exactly, and then Metaphor comes out in October. So I'm
Ugh.
thinking once we get settled at our new house after I beat Metaphor, I'll circle back around and play Shadow of the Erdtree. I
I
still have
wish
time
I
for it
could
right now.
schedule my game habits that way. I just go
really
like,
would,
oh, it's so
yeah.
shiny, gotta get it.
I know.
Yeah, I'm like-
me too. I'm like a
You
fucking
guys-
raccoon,
I
dude.
mean-
I see it in the trash. I'm like, and I just have to like grab it and play it for a little bit, and then I see something else shiny and I grab it. Yeah, dude, no, I can't,
Clip
man.
It's just
Yeah.
a factor of getting old.
Yeah.
I will say Elden Ring is my favorite Souls-borne game, if you can even call it that. It's
Rightfully
now it's got
so.
a new genre called the Elden Ring likes. That's even crazier.
What?
And just because the size of it is like it's not
Oh,
even
I
it's
see,
It's
yeah.
way more game.
it's its final
Right.
form, if you know what I mean. It's like it's
I
like
see, yeah.
Dragon Ball
Yes,
Z.
it's
It's
gone Super
evolved
Saiyan.
into it's a
Dude,
totally
honestly,
different animal.
it really is like just kind of like thinking about this game. I was like, this game took everything I loved about Dark Souls and then made it better and bigger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just like
Yep.
holy shit, it feels
And
so
it feels
good to play, man.
So I played Dark Souls 2.
yeah.
2. People really like Dark Souls 3. This one feels really a lot like like Dark Souls, just like it's almost like Danny McBride did that Halloween remake where he pretended like none of the other Halloweens existed. This
Yeah.
Elden Ring feels like, okay, listen, just Dark Souls 2 and 3 didn't happen. All right, just it's Dark Souls and then Elden Ring. But I don't think I'll get Shadow of the Erdtree unless I can beat Elden Ring. I'm currently stuck at the Queen's Palace after the time you have to fight the guy Margit the Fell Omen becomes another boss later. I can't remember
Yes.
his name.
Yeah,
But-
that's who I'm stuck on right now, Margaret the Fellman.
So he becomes somebody else later, and he's
Murgot.
he's incredibly difficult, and there's an NPC you can summon, but she's not helping me very much. So I guess I have to just level some more. But if I ever beat it, I'd love to play Shadow of the Erdtree. If not, I'll just watch some of the crazy ass bosses that we see.
You just gotta get
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Oh
Get
yeah.
good,
Thank you.
noob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
I'm not enough of a masochist. I think that's my biggest
Yeah.
problem.
I think Buck
All
watched
right.
me play it enough to get his
That-
fill.
That's okay too. Hey, they're great games. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, there's five in the series now, and I beat 2 of them, played 3 of them. I mean, they are wonderful.
Yeah. Well, that's all we have time-wise for the Souls-borne genre. It's hard. If you haven't played one, I would agree with Mr. Venecor. Go play maybe Dark Souls first. It's on the Switch. The remaster's not the best in my
Wow.
opinion, but it is on there and you can play it on the go. It's fun. That way you can't pause this game, FYI. So you're going to want to have it in your hands all the time. And then if you like it, play Elden Ring because it's but bigger and better, and it's going to take you 120 hours to beat. Am I wrong? So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with our What Else You Got and round out our episode, gentlemen. All right, we are back. We are back for our What Else You Got. We're allowed to bring to the table any bonus thing that we have, be it video game, new horse that we purchased, or I'm watching The Sopranos with these
Yeah.
guys. Sorry. I'm going to go
Nice.
first. And I have
Hi,
two-
oh my! She
I
was of horse.
I'm so glad you've seen Sopranos. This such a good show.
I just saw that
Yeah.
episode.
So I have 2, and I'm not going to take, I guess, that much time because they're 2 things that I think we've actually done as What Else You Got. I think, Buck, you've done both of these.
Okay,
But
but now you're catching up.
This week, I've done both of these things. This week, I played Balatro on the Switch,
Cool.
Hey, all
which,
right.
Nice.
yo,
Isn't it great?
first of all, it's under $20. I was like, what? The video? I got it for like sale, I think for like $15 or something like this. And secondly,
Worth every penny.
great on the Switch because
Yeah,
I don't know.
And
has
Steam
Buck-
Deck, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
So I
you,
play it on Steam Deck like exclusively.
if you do you use the touch controls?
no, I use
So
a D-pad.
you can use touch controls in this game if you play it on the Switch, and it basically just plays like video poker
Yeah.
because all of the buttons that have like the little like X or Y associated with them are also presented to you as just like large squares that you can just.
Mhm.
So I mount it on my desk without the controllers in my hand, and I just
Oh,
like
that's fun.
well every once in a while I just poke at it. And I
Oh,
just
neat,
play
dude.
poker. It's so fucking amazing.
Poker.
I cannot. It's awesome.
know
Damn near,
It's-
I barely
it's-
know.
I've- I
I
just,
just,
I just started playing it
this.
this week, and I
Jeebus.
played it for like
Dad joke.
15 hours or something. It's incredibly addictive. And then my
Yeah.
second thing, me and Raph have been doing together. I hope I'm not stealing your What Else You Got, Raph, but Delicious in Dungeon.
Oh,
no, yeah.
Yay!
Yo,
Great show.
I
Great
love
show.
that shit.
I
It's
fin- I finished
so
it.
good.
I finished it
show.
last week. Yeah.
We're on episode 6. We just watched the episode where
Oh,
the
cool.
thief is trying to avoid the mimic.
Yeah.
Chill Chuck.
That's
Chuck.
a great
Not
one.
Woodchuck.
Chill Chuck, yeah.
Chill
Yeah.
Chuck.
Chill Chuck,
Chill Chuck,
right?
yeah.
For the
Lotus
Lotus War
scans.
kids.
Buck said, yeah, you'd like this show. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And then I watched it and I went, yep, I
This is
like
so
this
much
show.
fun.
Yep.
It is.
We've
It's-
also been watching Blue Eyed Samurai.
We've
All right.
Mr. Venecor, we've been
go.
watching. That was my other.
tell you.
What else? I was like, these are all things that we've all talked about already, but I just started doing them. And guess what? You guys were right. All those
They're
things that you
awesome.
suggested are really
They're
kick
awesome.
ass.
Yeah.
You guys should
Feeding
watch.
each other.
It's a
You should
ride.
watch Blue Eye
Enjoy.
Samurai and Delicious in Dungeon. Both
Delicious
on
in Dungeon
Netflix.
is fun.
They're
It's
both.
really fun. The approach
Yeah.
to the
That's
I love
the
it.
it's
I
capital
love it.
F
Like,
fun.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Like I
It's-
don't, you know what I
it's
mean? Like it's
fun,
just really, really, really entertaining.
Yeah.
Even with the
beautifully animated.
yes,
So well, like
because
so
the Studio
gorgeously
Trigger
done,
people,
yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so.
Episode 6, Senshi showed up already. The dwarf.
Oh yeah, long
yeah,
time.
yeah,
ago.
yeah, he's been
yeah,
done
he's-
in there for a while.
He's
Yeah.
you got to have once you get him, then the show really comes together.
Yeah. I mean, he pretty much shows up right away. But
Was it? I forget.
it
20
it's
finished it. It was
it's
20.
got a funny sense of humor. Looks
Mhm.
good. It's also cool fantasy, like
real
really
high
cool
fantasy,
Dungeon and Dragon high
Undines and all
fantasy,
kinds of real
not
high
like
fantasy. Yeah.
oh, we think we know it Western fantasy. Like no, these
Yeah, it's
guys,
like
yeah,
D&D
And
fantasy.
when is ever the human
Mac
fighter
mentioned
one of
it,
the most interesting characters?
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. He's always
Mac
boring.
mentioned it while we were watching it, but we need to play Barony again, guys, because it
That's
reminds me
what
a lot of Barony.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have that
yeah.
run.
It reminded me of that and
I
of the
love
game we're
Western
gonna play
Barony.
next week, but we'll get more on that later. What else you got for us this week, Buck?
I I guess this is what we do now. We just give each other suggestions and then we catch up on it eventually so we can talk about it together.
Yes.
Because Venny's been talking about this show for years and I finally binge watched and caught up on The Boys.
Dude.
Oh, nice. I haven't
Yeah,
seen
bro.
any of it, dude. I haven't seen any of the boys.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Season
been
4
wonderful.
just started. It's a good time to get in.
I'm 2 episodes into season 4 now. I'm only 1 episode behind on that even. And Sister Sage is a great character. I can't wait to see where they go with that.
She is. That's exactly where we are.
You know why I really, really like it? Because it just makes me really wish they had made a show or an animated show out of Incorruptible and Irredeemable.
Yeah,
Because,
I
man,
feel like we've said this before.
We have because somebody brought up The Boys before, probably Venny brought up
Right.
The Boys before, and it's like, man, it was just the greatest concept ever of what if Superman was, whatever, there are superheroes, blah blah, but what if he was just a total dick?
Like a sociopath.
Yeah,
At this point, yeah.
Yeah, it's so, but I've enjoyed it a lot. I really like Carl Urban, so it's
Yeah.
cool to see him in a show that I watch all the way through there too. I like
Dread.
him a lot, but yeah, we just watched that week or two ago on
I
Kill
still
Team
haven't
Night.
seen Dread either.
Ooh,
Dude, oh my God, Raph!
yeah.
Holy shit!
I
That's
know,
what we're
I
gonna
know,
watch
yeah.
next, dude. That movie fucking whoops ass.
I was talking to
Oh my
Eric
God.
about it.
Yeah, wow.
I still haven't seen Dread. Yeah.
The funniest thing about The Boys is like they always say, it's like the story's really good, blah blah blah. Every episode has that like we're gonna fight these guys, and then like Kimiko rips a dude's face off.
Goes full Wolverine,
Just-
yeah.
And you're like, Jesus Christ, or Homelander's
Yeah.
just talking to someone, and then he lasers him in half.
I love it.
Like every episode has like a guaranteed something. What the fuck moment's gonna happen?
Really
Yeah.
funny too. I think it's
Yeah. Oh, the
really,
writing's
really
really
good
good.
sense of humor. Yeah.
The writing's really good. Huey, the character, the guy who plays Huey, his
Yeah.
sense of humor is really
His
good on that
obsession
too,
with
but-
Billy Joel is hits me right in my heart. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you like that as well too. But I'm excited. So just announced that there's one more season after season 4. Season 5 is going to be the final season, I guess.
Yeah.
So, which
Yeah.
by the way, Delicious in Dungeon just got renewed for a second season.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna get more of that.
Exciting.
Raph, what else you got for us this week?
Well, I don't have much. Because the pre-order is almost up, I went ahead and I pre-ordered a physical copy of Animal Well. I didn't get the $100 big beefy box set. I was going to, but I was like, nah, man, I gotta save my money. But Buck, I was looking at something else you sent in the chat, and I'm really considering getting it because the pre-order ends next week after my next paycheck. But I think I want to get the new that Clock Tower remake.
Ooh.
I think I'm gonna get it. I think it's
There.
only $34, $35 for the
Be
pre-order.
a
I think
great
I'm gonna
one
get
for
it.
the Switch collection if you want it for portables. And
Yeah, that's
usually my game plan with games like that when I collect it, I'll pre-order the super uber duper collector's edition with the stress
Right.
ball Clock Tower, and then it's also coming out on Steam, so I'll get to play it there, which I can also play it handheld on my Steam Deck, but then I can collect a really sexy physical and not have to open it.
Hell yeah, nice.
Nice. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Clock Tower, you guys are sickos.
Dude, it's so much fun. That Tenebrous Soma
never got to
game that I
play
shared
it.
with you.
Yeah.
I haven't played it yet, but
Oh,
have you
yeah.
guys seen? Oh my!
Yeah, that looks wild.
God,
Oh
that
yeah,
looks
dude.
insane. Did you see that, Venny?
I
you
did
see
not.
the trailer?
No.
It's a 16-bit point and click like Clock Tower, like pixel graphics with FMV cutscenes.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it looks fucking weird. as
Look at
fuck.
his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They merged.
yeah.
It was like they said, "Hey, Buck, would you like us to take like your 2 favorite genres ever and like I don't know,
Combine them together.
merge them together and make them have a little gameroo for you, dude." Oh, after
Yeah,
this,
it
I'm
looks-
making you watch the
It
trailer.
looks really weird. And I'll probably want to play it as well. Mr. Fennecore, what else have you got for us this week? Anything?
I ain't got shit.
Just moving.
Because
This man be
we've been
moving.
moving. Although I will say this,
Understandable,
because,
man.
I have gotten to read a little bit here and there. I know Buck and I, especially, we will be balls deep in Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail when that drops. But I feel like by mid or end of August, we will most likely be done with the MSQ, probably in Dawn Trail. And in about August 2024 of this year, Visions of Mana comes out.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. How about
Ooh,
that?
yeah, that look good.
And they just this week released some new details about like the combat system and switching jobs and switching elements. And honestly, it looks really fun. It looks like a really fun game. So
Oh, this
If
looks
I'm being honest, it
cool.
looks like a fun game. Straight up.
Hell
Fun
yeah.
games.
ton of fun.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
hey, that's our show. That does it for another episode of the Game Treasure Podcast. Hey, do us a favor, will you? Like and subscribe. I mean it. Does us a huge favor. And if you're just listening to this, why don't you head on over to YouTube or Instagram at the Game Treasure Podcast, and you can see all the shorts and snippets and bobs. I'll do funnies. I'll zoom in to one of our mouths, and that always makes me laugh. I don't know if you love a good mouth zoom. You can also reach us at our email at gametreasurepodcast@gmail.com. Hey, maybe you've got a suggestion for an episode. You're like, I gotta see that. I gotta see that Genesis carousel now. Show it to me. And we'll,
It's
you know,
coming.
maybe you can influence me. You can find links to that and all of our stuff at the link tree, the link tree at our link tree, linktree/the GTP. Join us next week where we are going to be taking a hot steam with Dark and Darker. Buck mentioned it earlier in this
I've been
episode.
playing it a bunch.
The
Ooh.
So much
multiplayer,
fun.
I haven't played it yet, and I'm super horny to play it. I've also been
Ooh,
playing
I'm
some.
excited.
I've played
huh?
a couple other games on Steam that I'm probably going to want to talk about as well. But Dark and Darker, the multiplayer dungeon crawling co-op, fucking
Kingsfield game.
yeah,
Yeah.
Kingsfield like.
It is.
Is that one 4-player or 3?
3. Yeah.
3-player teams. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Trios, yeah.
interesting. We want to thank Crunkwitch for the use of our theme song, Clash of the Droids. You can find them on Apple Music, Spotify, Timmy Tunes, which is just a music subscription thing for people just
Timmy
named
Turner.
Timmy. And of course, we'd like to thank RetroGameTreasure.com, owned and operated by the Megabuck himself. That's right. Retro Game Treasure is a subscription service that sends collectors bespoke boxes of retro video games every month. Not a collector yet, but you want to start becoming a collector? That's perfect. You should do this. Or maybe you're already a collector and you just want more and more games. This is also perfect for that. Simply go to www.retrogametreasure.com and you'll receive games tailored to fill out your collection. My collection? Yes, that's right. Because if you are a collector, you go to set your personal preference settings and tell them what kinds of games you like, what kind of games you already have, what systems you have. This way, they make sure your monthly box of nostalgia is filled with primo games new for you to play every single month. RetroGameTreasure.com is obsessed with video games since 1985. Buck, do you have your new subscribers list on vacation?
Heck yeah, I do.
Nice.
We always working,
Hit me.
and poor Princess M is back at the warehouse packing your boxes, guys. This month, we're welcoming Allison Baker, Tyler Glennon, Steve Ducek, Jean-Baptiste Lai, Walter
Ooh.
Pietraszewski. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Walter Mauskowitz, Tyler McGrath, Robert Majovsky, Andrew Ritchie, Chris Kremer, Matthew Hall, Jason Hadley, Kevin Reinholtz, Adam Featherson, Brittany Castaneda, Kenny Bonsada, and Caitlin Manclue.
Thank you guys so much for your subscriptions. Hey, listen, my name is Max Stein, and I love the Game Treasure podcast. It's so bad.
It's so